Yeah.
So AI and the consciousness, and you did a lot of work. You know, not only the interbrain synchrony, but also this AI implementation of some of the consciousness theory, right?
Like neuro AI, yeah, and trying to borrow cognitive architecture in different conscious theory and trying to implement them.
And in particular, you are trying to implement the global workspace theory.
So we did already one first paper with Jean-Pierre Changeux 2 years ago, where we used spiking neural networks to learn a global neural workspace architecture that solve trace conditioning. And like, I mean, the thing is solving trace conditioning, and it has like many properties of what is expected by the global neural workspace theory. And I'm trying to do that also now with attention schema theory. And in a sense, I'm trying to take all the cognitive architecture, implement them, and see what is missing. And in a sense, that's connected with what I was discussing earlier. Like, I think we are like far from the understanding consciousness, but by progressively integrating all the elements that have been proposed, we maybe remove progressively all the cognitive aspects to access to the phenomenal delta that is missing.
I see. So, wait a second.
That's fun.
All right. So you are now implementing global workspace and also
Attention schema. Yeah.
And you are now almost completed in terms of the.
So global workspace is done.
How is the result?
And like it learns first the delay conditioning and then the trace conditioning.
Okay.
And it solved the trace conditioning.
Okay.
And the motivation with Jean-Pierre Changeux was to try to identify the necessary biological mechanisms to solve the trace conditioning.
I see. And I actually, my PhD was about the delay versus trace conditioning in Christoph Koch's lab.
Okay. Wow.
Because at that time he was thinking that is, potential consciousness meter for even mouse.
Yeah.
But I think in the end it's more to do with attention probably.
Well, I think it's also more associated with working memory and the ability to maintain a representation.
Yes, so it's very high level actually, and the demand of the cognition is very high.
We're far from phenomenological experience.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I totally agree.
But around that time, 2005, this kind of distinction was not so clear as well. Right?
No, but that's where I'm saying I'm very optimistic in terms of progress. I think we should be more humble and exchanging between theories the right methods and so on than shooting at each other.
Yeah.
Because we are still far from the answer in a sense. And I mean, I like in that sense the adversarial collaboration model because it forced people to at least sit at the same table and agree to disagree in a constructive way.
Right. And we also talked about the open science kind of issue, and that's also pretty much in line with this, right? So you are also quite advanced, like even 10 years ago or something like that, to protest against the
so like in 2012 we created an association called at that time Hack Your PhD, where we were like really involved in raising awareness around open science principles. And at that time, open science was not fashionable at all. Like people were criticizing even.
So I remember that I did the first my archive paper in 2015 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, that I was already a faculty in Monash in 2012 or something.
Yeah.
And then around 2013 or 14, I tried to kind of promote this Google Scholar.
Yeah.
As a sort of the universal kind of service to the field,
and people were not receptive.
And then Monash psychology people said that why do we need to do that? Now you are crazy, right? But then I wasn't sure why they don't want to do it. So at the time I started to generate my own website for my lab, like and making all the PDF kind of stuff, as available, downloadable.
Yeah.
With a disclaimer that this is basically the same thing as you asking me email, and then I provide
it's there.
PDF. There's nothing above and beyond that. And I was ready to be kind of arrested or sued
by
if they want to.
the journals, yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't, right?
Yeah, because like I mean there were like at that time a lot of tensions. Like
Yes.
I don't know if you knew the for instance the controversy around Aaron Schwartz, the guy who committed suicide after downloading GStore and so on.
That's much earlier.
Yeah.
That's later.
But this typically, when it started, this thing were like extremely controversial. You are like considered as a hacker. Aaron Schwartz.
Or 16, no? Maybe we should just check it. But,
yeah. I mean, 2012, we were like discussing those things.
So Aaron Schwartz committed suicide in 2013.
Yeah.
I see.
And so at that time, talking about open access and scientific knowledge as a common good,
he downloaded everything from JSTOR.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it was sued.
He was sued by the American government, I think. Like he had like he was guest user account from MIT, and yeah, he asked for 1 million in fines and 35 years of prison. And I mean, after 2 days after the prosecution, he was found dead.
I see.
So I mean, he was like,
very sad.
That's a very sad story. And like at that time,
trigger for your.
We started talking about that before that. But at that time, 2012, and that show how at that time open science was very controversial. We were activists, and we were going to the European Forum for Science with banner and trying to discuss about the need for getting science open and so on. And now, 15 years later, I mean, things are better, but it has been also very recaptured by the system. So like the open science mean more like open bar and free science for the knowledge, free access to knowledge. But initially in the open science movement, there were also a lot about open in the sense of freedom of speech more than free, like free beer. And the thing got institutionalized.
So it's like that literally like my own kind of website to make my work publicly available for free, rather than barrier by the publisher.
And paying 15,000 grand to 15 grand to Nature to publish open access typically.
Yeah, so it's.
But I mean, like what I mean is like we had initially values that were deeper than just open data or open access. And that, I mean, there's always a negotiation in those kind of social
it's
thing.
Really always a really pathetic thing. I always thought that because, the research is mostly done by public money in
totally
countries.
Yeah.
And even if
a lot
it's
of it.
not the case, but still, most of the researchers are hired by, public money in many cases.
Yeah.
And then, as a result of that, the public money is, intellectual property, somebody is making profit.
Wow,
right?
Like publisher
that's really weird.
And on top, like it's when each time you explain the publishing system to someone outside academia, I mean they are all shocked. You're bring the knowledge, you're doing the peer review, and in the end you're paying for getting published, and you're not paid for being reviewer. I mean that makes no sense. And on top, like people have to pay also to access the knowledge.
Yeah.
So
it's really
a lot of people are like, what? How is it even possible? And that's the reality of publishing. And so it has progressed. Like at that time, for instance, we were contacting PLOS, that was starting the Public Library of Science. Yeah. And PLOS was a major actor in change regarding those question of open access.
Right.
And it was a wonderful institution in first to do that.
The beginning,
they were really at the beginning. And there were like other models, like there were like at some point PeerJ, but it didn't work well. eLife worked quite nicely, and now recently on top they changed also their model. So there is like still innovation in that space. Frontiers, it's a weird thing. I mean, simultaneously I was very enthusiastic at the beginning, but it didn't age necessarily well in the way of reception.
I think the reality is that somebody actually does need to pay somebody to make things nicer, right?
Yeah.
And then because I'm also running some kind of bigger entity for Center Grant in Japan.
Yeah.
This kind of somebody needs to do something part. It requires sort of normal job, like collecting the proof and then doing things, which is not that interesting probably, and it is a part of a normal job. So somebody needs to
be
find
paid for
some people who can do it and then get paid. And that part,
but that is also because there's a high standard in terms of the appearance. Yeah,
Yes.
but a lot of physics domain got completely detached from this publishing stuff, like supraconductivity, for instance. They only use archive. They use LaTeX, archive, and that's it. So I mean,
but biology has started to become like that.
Yeah,
right? Like around the 2000.
bioarchive, it's the same thing. Like bioarchive was totally inexistent. Yeah.
Now almost everybody does.
Yeah. So I mean, there has been progress in there. I mean, there are still like these obsessions sometimes with like high impact journals and stuff.
Yes.
But with the DORA agreements, for instance, and the Declaration of San Francisco for like hiring process should not take into account impact factor and stuff like that. Even the universities start to understand that this whole thing is even a bias that is not connected to the real innovativity or creativity of people, and it's all reflecting also a kind of network of politics and stuff like that.
Yeah, but these kind of things. I mean, it's a slightly bit different kind of a digression, but you may. It seems like you are reading or on top of the sort of similar kind of literature as me.
Yeah.
And I've been always thinking the next, the data sharing and also making public available and the reputation-based kind of science are kind of more or less going there. But after doing the sabbatical in OIST, I started to really realize that a huge amount of the scientists' waste of the money and also time is put into the interview process.
To the what?
Interview.
Interview.
Interview of the future student,
participant,
the higher participant.
Interesting.
Future.
CV. Then
but if they don't have contents to put.
I know. But if you have like the right eye, I think you can see through it. But for instance, coming from France, when I moved to North America, I was extremely biased, and I thought like everybody was so amazing because they were like so much better than the average French person to sell their CV and their skills and the self-insurance and so on. And typically in an interview, you're also evaluating a lot the self-insurance of people, like how they are good and assertive.
But interview has lots of problems. I mean, first thing that interviewing a person consciously or unconsciously basically given a high score for those people who are similar to you,
them, and that
in any way, right?
But that's why, like recently, for instance, we had a training with Yael Nib in Princeton, would work on mentoring, and one trick that was interesting is to do the interview by phone. So you don't see the person.
Yeah, so
that's a good trick.
Has been done in a pianist kind of competition and so on, right? But even that,
But that's a good idea already.
Yeah.
To remove the video.
Direction is okay, but what I want to kind of emphasize is that getting rid of all this.
Yeah.
And then just make it based on the actual, interaction for a longer time, as an impress of this interview. So I was
how
half
to scale
serious,
that?
really. So I was really serious in today's comment to make sabbatical as a sort of norm.
Yeah. But I think that's great, but
And
it doesn't scale necessarily well. That's the major problem.
But so what I'm doing in a sort of part of the sort of practice or sort of experimentation for my lab is all the entry is based on the internship.
So by default they get accepted in the internship and
as an initially, but in a very very low load of things like 6 weeks of
observation.
online psychophysics.
Okay.
Programming, analyzing, or 6 weeks of the data analysis.
So very progressive.
One channel.
Yeah.
And then if they are really happy, and we do not ask them to stop working in their current environment.
Okay.
Just do it as a side job.
Okay,
But
just
6
to
weeks,
test.
For 40 hours, if they want to, please do it. But do not lie that you did this much in 10 hours, right?
Yeah.
But that will put you, in a very difficult situation because, I would ask you to do something in 10 hours, and if you don't do that, then you are very bad, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to see you in a true kind of situation, and then if it works, then it works.
I think
experiment.
it's an interesting model, yeah.
And also, organization summer school is also part of it as well. So because we work for 2 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. It's much easier to see the sort of the nature of this person.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh, very quickly. I mean, that's why also there is what's the name? Training period d'essai, training period, like a trial period. Also in lot
That's
of
an internship.
Yeah, in lot of HR process, you have always a trial period.
Right.
But no, what I'm saying is that clearly I agree with you that the hiring process is rigged right now on top with generative AI.
Yeah, the reason why I brought it up is because I imagine that many of the professors and assistant professors and so on, especially OIST, they spend so much time on interview.
Yeah.
And if that's not effective, then they should just not do it, right? But the bad thing about the interview is that it is really based on the false confidence that you can find some good talent. And
by
also,
doing so.
Yeah, but also the feedback of the actuality of this person comes really late. So you have almost no way of correcting your own way of interviewing or doing, like an extremely slow process of the back propagation.
But on top, I feel like the social contract of interview is to have also the responsibility to provide feedback to the person, in a sense.
Yeah, but there are lots of people
that's
who
a lot
are
of time.
extremely capable people who are really just bad at the interview.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
And often it's the case that people who are not really doing good at presenting is actually the best person, right?
And that's not. I'm saying it's not correlated. Doesn't mean that if you fail your interview, you're good.
Yeah, but I seriously think that scientists capability and the interview performance is very very not predictable. And but we are spending so much disproportionately long time on this. So
and also it's a matter of I think this culture of interviewing is connected to also a perspective of what kind of science people want, in the sense that there's a lot of pressure today to be performative in the public space about your science. And to me, this emphasis on interview or my PhD in 3 minutes, stuff like that, is kind of this pressure of the system that you need not only to do science but to present it well.
But I would say that is a useful skill, and still it's uncorrelated with the interview skill.
On top of the okay.
Because
Yeah.
presentation in 3 minutes or presentation at the talk is something that you can
It's
practice.
a different. Yeah. No, but
interview
interview
skill,
also.
Interview skill is also, presentation part, yes.
Yeah.
But a more important part of the interview
Like
is
the
that
questions and.
or being just liked, right?
Yeah. But I feel like still this component of being liked and like is very present in this social media area and like.
Maybe, but
I'm not I'm hating it. Like
Yeah.
to me, it's like I feel like I'm losing so much time if I go there. So, but there is a pressure from the system towards that. And
But this kind of YouTube
Yeah.
media, right?
Yeah.
That's a kind of, but in a sense, this is almost like a open science version of the interview, right? At a high profile thing, only these kind of people can do it. But now everybody can do it.
yeah, no, that's
whether
good.
everybody
That's a
watch it or
democratization
not,
of
yeah.
communication, and that's why I was saying like for me, I'm a big fan of radio. I mean, like
Right.
and free radio,
Right.
Because it brought back before internet
Right.
the media culture in the hand of citizen,
Yeah.
which
Okay,
was
maybe
mostly
let's talk about it in the next session.
yeah.